explaining the book Passion Struck, 12 Powerful Principles to Unlock Your Purpose and Ignite Your Most Intentional Life by John R. Miles. I will now provide you with an explanation that covers each of the 12 principles in detail, explaining the psychological and behavioral background behind them, and providing in-depth and practical examples. General introduction to the book. This book is not just about finding passion, but about living life in a deliberate, intentional, and clear way. John Miles seeks to awaken in you a new kind of life, one based on choice rather than spontaneity. A life lived on purpose is completely different from a random or reactive life. It is a life you create with your own hands, not one dictated by circumstances or the expectations of others. The book invites you to awaken to your truth and forge your own path in a world full of confusion and distraction. Principle 1. Wake up to life. In this chapter, the author likens the state many people live in to a conscious coma. You're awake in your body, but oblivious in your spirit. You do the same things, you think the same way, but you don't know why. You live on autopilot, moving without purpose. John Miles invites you to wake up and ask, who am I? What do I really want? Why am I doing what I do? These questions aren't just philosophical. They're keys to breaking out of a mechanized life. He says, waking up to life doesn't mean suddenly changing everything, but rather starting to see what you didn't see before, reclaiming control over your day, your time, and your focus. Practical application. Spend 15 minutes a day writing about your feelings, your worries, and your avoidance. You'll be surprised at the insights that will emerge. Principle 2. Define your intention clearly. Passion without intention turns into chaos. Intention is the compass that directs your energy and determines what you accept and what you reject. John Miles says, most people live in a cycle of busyness, but without a clear intention. You see them busy all day, but no one asks them, busy about what and why? A clear intention means choosing your priorities yourself, not allowing people, technology, or circumstances to choose them for you. When you live with intention, you begin to say yes and no clearly. You begin to design your life instead of reacting to life. Practical application. At the beginning of each week, write down your biggest intention for the week. What is the most important thing I want to accomplish or focus on? Then center all your decisions around this intention. Principle 3. Transcend your old narrative. Everyone has a story they tell about themselves. I'm a shy person. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve success. Over time, these stories become prisons. John Miles says, if you want to live a new life, you must write a new story. You can't build your future with the same mindset that created your suffering. Here the author invites you to confront the narrative you tell yourself, which is often a combination of past experiences and other people's opinions. Transformation begins when you say to yourself, this story no longer serves me, and it's time to write a new one. Practical application. Write down an account of an old story you believe about yourself and commit it to a page. Then ask, where did this story come from? Is it still true? Write a new positive, inspiring version of it and start repeating it to yourself. Principle 4. Confront fear with curiosity. Fear isn't an enemy, it's a guide. John argues that fear often points you to something important, to an area of potential growth. Instead of running away from it, approach it with curiosity. What is this fear telling me? Is it real or imagined? Is it a fear of failure, of what others think, or of change? When you approach fear this way, it transforms from an obstacle into a mirror. Through it, you discover what you love, what matters to you, and what you need to change. Practical application. Every time you're afraid of something, such as public speaking or starting a project, don't just ask, why am I afraid? But, what do I love so much that I'm willing to face this fear? Principle 5. Create your passionate habits. Passion isn't something magical that just happens to you. It's something you build through small habits. Here, the author breaks the romantic image of passion and turns it into a process that can be created. Start with one habit that fuels your passion, even if it's very small. Writing for 10 minutes, learning a new skill, spending time with people who inspire you. Each small habit is a building block in the building block of your passionate life. Passion isn't born all at once, it grows day by day. Practical application. Choose one small habit that serves your passion and commit to it for 30 days. Don't change everything at once. Just keep at it until it becomes part of you. Principle 6. Dismantle your fake self. In this principle, Miles talks about the mask we wear to please society, feel safe, or avoid rejection. Your fake self is the version you've created to conform to expectations, but it's not the real you. The problem is that this fake self may appear successful, but deep down you feel alienated. You feel like you're living a life that doesn't resemble you, speaking in a voice other than your own, and laughing at things that don't make you laugh. Liberation begins when you have the courage to say, I am not this mask. John invites you to return to your true self, to discover who you are without pretense or disguise. The goal isn't to become perfect, but to become you. Practical application. Record moments when you felt like you were faking. What were you afraid of? What were you trying to prove? Start with a self-honesty exercise. What do I really want? Who do I want to be? And write down your answers without judgment. Principle 7. Protect your energy like gold. Here John likens your energy to life itself. You only have a limited amount of energy each day, and if you don't protect it, it will be drained on worthless things. He points to energy vampires, negative people, comparisons on social media, being overly busy without intention, unnecessary meetings. Miles invites you to be a guardian of your soul's energy. Say no without guilt and only say yes to what nourishes you. Practical application. Monitor where your energy goes for a full day. At the end of the day, ask, what activities drain me? What activities energize me? Then start designing your schedule around what energizes you, not what is expected of you. Principle 8. Build micro-lives. This is a fascinating idea from the book. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to live your dream life, Miles suggests that you start by creating miniature versions of that life in your everyday reality. For example, dream of being a writer? Set aside 20 minutes a day to write. Dream of becoming an athlete? Start by taking a half-hour walk every day. Dream of quiet time? Set aside 10 minutes of silence and reflection. The idea is to snatch moments from the life you aspire to and live them now in miniature. Over time, these moments will become a way of life. Practical application. Write down the life you desire in detail, then choose one simple habit you can implement right now and start immediately. Principle 9. Learn to tolerate intentional discomfort. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, but in emerging from it. Miles says there are two kinds of pain, the pain of randomness and chaos, and the pain of conscious change. The first holds you back. The second is the discomfort you choose because you know it leads you to a life more aligned with your truth. He invites you to accept that intentional living isn't always comfortable, but it's always meaningful. Practical application. Choose one thing that you know will improve you, but that makes you uncomfortable. For example, confronting someone, starting a project, saying no, and do it this week. Principle 10. Free yourself from living by indoctrination. Sometimes we live on an operating system that we don't understand how it was built. The commands come from parents, society, school, the media, and all of these have shaped our beliefs about ourselves and the world. For example, success means a certain job. Failure is a shame. Change is dangerous. I have to be liked by everyone. John Miles says, if you don't reprogram your mental system, you'll live your life according to someone else's programming. Practical application. Choose a belief you doubt, such as, I can't live off my passion, and write, who taught me this? Is it always true? What happens if I abandon it? Then replace it with a supportive belief. Principle 11. Build a community of intentional supporters. You can't live an intentional life surrounded by random people. You need someone who believes in you, reminds you of your purpose, and pushes you forward. Not someone who doubts you or mocks your dreams. John emphasizes the idea of an intentional community. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be authentic, safe, and inspiring. Practical application. Find just 3 people who could be supportive friends, mentors, online community, then commit to connecting with them weekly. Don't live the journey alone. Principle 12. Live your legacy now. The author concludes with a powerful principle. Don't wait until the end to think about the legacy you will leave behind. Instead, ask yourself daily, what do I want people to remember about me? How can I live every day as part of that legacy? The idea of legacy isn't about fame or money, but about impact, about the values you've instilled, the lives you've touched, and the stories that will be told about you. Practical application. Write an imaginary farewell letter as if you were leaving this life tomorrow. What would it say? How would you like to be remembered? Then ask, does my life today reflect this message? And begin to adjust it to fit it. Book conclusion. John R. Miles doesn't want you to live someone else's life. He doesn't want you to fade into the hustle and bustle of the world or follow other people's dreams. He wants you to ignite from within, to feel created with purpose, and to live with that purpose every day, every hour. The whole book is about taking full ownership of your life with passion, intention, and courage. Let me now give you one real-life example from the book Passion Struck by John R. Miles. Example: the story of a soldier who lost his identity after war. In one chapter of the book, John R. Miles recounts the true story of a former American Special Forces soldier named Michael, who, after returning from war in Iraq and Afghanistan, began to feel completely lost. Although he survived fierce battles and bravely served his country, once he returned to civilian life, he found himself disconnected from himself, without purpose, without passion, without identity. What happened with Michael? Throughout his life, Michael had followed orders. He joined the army to fulfill family tradition. He lived a strict, disciplined life, dictated by military rules. But suddenly, after his discharge, he found himself in a terrifying inner void. There was no one to tell him what to do. There was no longer a sense of belonging or purpose. He became depressed and felt worthless, even though he had received medals for bravery. What did Michael discover after his sessions with John? John sat down with him and asked him a single question that shook him to the core. Who are you, outside of the uniform? This is when Michael began to realize that he had been hiding behind his military identity and was afraid to face his own truth. Michael realized that he had never consciously chosen his life, but rather followed what others expected of him. The big transformation. How did Michael emerge from this void? John helped him follow a series of steps. He discovered his true passion. He discovered that he loved mentoring, and that his happiest moments in the military were when training new soldiers. He felt he was created to inspire others, not just fight. He began creating a new mini-life. He began participating in training workshops for civilians on leadership and discipline. Then he developed into creating a special program for the psychological and professional rehabilitation of discharged soldiers. He consciously rebuilt his identity. He no longer presented himself as a former soldier, but rather as a life coach and mentor for conscious leadership. This transformation changed his self-perception and gave him new inner energy. He regained a sense of purpose. Michael now lived every day with passion, not because he survived the war, but because he survived the existential emptiness he experienced afterward and discovered why he lived. The message from the example, according to John R. Miles: no matter how accomplished your past is, if you're not living today with purpose, you're suffering from an inner suffocation that won't be healed by appearances. Passion isn't given to you by a job, a title, or a family heritage. You create it when you stop running from yourself and face your truth.